Good morning, business owners. It's Mike Bosma, your business savvy CPA, coming from Studio B, that's Studio Bosma Business Center. Of course, each and every Saturday, 50 minutes, maybe 55 and a half of action-packed business adventure. Now, you're going to want to hang tight and hang on. This installment of Bosma on Business is going to be on a cause that is near and dear to my heart. You know, there are a few things in this hard, cruel world that will calm the senses, that will take the edge off a hard day, that will help you tolerate tomfoolery. Our this week's installment of Bosma on Business, Joe Cannella, chief cook and bottle washer of Ferino Distillery, is going to talk about bourbon, something near and dear to my heart. Joe, welcome to Bosma on Business.
Glad to be here.
So tell us about your journey, your entrepreneurial journey that got you in to the biz.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a little bit of background, and interestingly, bourbon is not our focus, although we have made it. But it all started 2010. So a little trip to Sicily, where my dad's side of the family is from. So my family name is Cannella. It's the Italian word for cinnamon, but I didn't think too much of it growing up until I was over in the ancestral motherland, and started looking around everywhere, and started seeing things with my name on it. Street signs, Via Cannella, Cafe Cannella. It's a women's clothing store chain called Cannella. I was like, oh, my people, but yeah, I hadn't thought about it, too much before that. But it was my last day before I was due to come back, and I was sitting at my little hotel bar. And kind of scanning the shelf looking for something interesting to try, you can't find back at home. And sure enough, there was a bottle, old dusty bottle with my name on it. So I was like, bartender, whatever that is. I don't know. Let me figure out what that is. Let's try that out. So, it turns out it was like a nice, cinnamon, liqueurs, a Rosolio di Cannella, and tried it. It was lovely. And, brought some bottles back home and drank them, and nobody was making anything back here that was anything quite like that. Everything was at that time was Fireball and
right.
Fireball.
It's cinnamon with a little shot of Tabasco in it.
Yeah. Right. So it wasn't quite anything quite like that I found it. So kind of one thing led to another. I was in the Bay Area at that time, and launched out of someone else's distillery for a while before my wife and I moved back to Nevada in 2017, opened up our distillery of our own, and just in time for the pandemic. And then here we are.
So why is it not called Cannella?
Our first product, our Cannella, was Cannella Cinnamon Cordial. The distillery itself is, I wanted to give it, you got kind of two options, and an important decision. If you're a brewery, distillery, whatever it is, you can be a branded house or a house of brands, right? So branded houses, everything would be Cannella this, it would be Cannella Distillery, every bottle would say Cannella, which, is a choice. I think I lean very much towards the house of brands, which is that each product has the opportunity to kind of stand on its own, have its own identity, or at least each series of products. So that's kind of the direction we went. I wanted to come up with something interesting. Ferino is the Italian word for feral or wild, like a feral animal.
The wild alcohol, like it does not going to do enough for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like to think of Northern Nevada as like one of the last bastions of the Wild West, and gets a little feral down on in the 4th Street sometimes. So
okay, so now you say you have made bourbon. What do you focus on?
So the focus is these Italian-inspired liqueurs, Amaro. We make Fernet. We make our Cannella Cinnamon Cordial. We make a coffee liqueur, our Cafe Notte coffee liqueur. And most recently, our new flagship is Ferino Amer, which is more of a connection to the local Basque restaurant culture. It is the main ingredient in the Picon Punch. So Torani was making the Torani Amer for the last 60 years, and then about 18 months ago, they handed over the recipe to Ferino Distillery. And so now we're sort of the de facto maker of the main ingredient in the Picon Punch.
How'd you pull that one off?
I wish I could say it was a masterfully engineered, like, hostile takeover. That would be
Right.
that would
It'd
be
great
giving
radio.
me way too much
Right.
credit. No, I think they literally reached out on a form on my website. So if you ever if always make sure you're paying attention, I guess, because
Right.
so their like COO reached out and was like, hey, so
I have an idea. We don't want to do this
can
anymore.
we talk? Yeah, basically. So, I mean, they're a $500 million syrup company, a global. So this was something that was near and dear to their heart, but they, it wasn't as strategic for them, and they wanted to make sure that it was left in good hands.
Right?
Yeah,
yeah. No, and I think that's what we talk. Yeah, the business broker side of the house, Keystone CPAs, of course, it's tax season. Business brokerage and then wealth advisory on the other side. But, my business broker had, you start talking like, how much of this stuff can you say? It's like, this isn't even a blip on the radar, but we don't want to see it go away. We want to give it to, the Cannellas and make sure it's in good hands and, the legacy lives on.
Exactly. It's like you said, a blip on their radar, but it's meaningful for us, which means that we're going to pay good attention to it. We're going to, do the right thing with it. So they pretty much they gave it to us. There was no money exchanged hands.
Sometimes now I'll tell you, it's interesting, Joe. I had a friend of mine who had who became a friend. Didn't know him before, but had this idea to buy a golf course, and for free. He's like, I can't even believe how you look at all this stuff out this, acres and acres, and basically you're going to give it to me for free, and I'm like, how you make a small fortune in the golf industry? Start with a large one. Right? He lost his shorts on that. I'm like, it's a hard business.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And for us, we had the infrastructure obviously set up. It was like adding it in, but it was, it did have its challenges getting it ramped up for sure.
I get you, Joe Cannella from Ferino Distillery, talking about getting stuff for free, and nothing's ever free, right? Even if it doesn't cost you. So all the infrastructure to kind of get that going. How what is your general distilling process, right? So again, I'm very familiar with bourbon. To be oak, American oak barrels, slightly charred. What is yours? Is it any oak, anything, or is it all, steel distilled?
So yeah, it's mostly steel distilled. We make brandy as the base alcohol. Mm-hmm. So we distill wine to make brandy as the base. So you can make brandy from any fruit or from any wine, and you can make wine from any fruit. But we're distilling grape wine, traditional grape wine. Yeah.
Is there a particular type of varietal that you use, or?
It's the ideal scenario is like a very dry white wine, but we can do reds as well, as long as it's fully fermented, as in like no residual sugar. When the distillation process, you're cooking the wine, so when you cook something that has sugar, it's you're gonna burn the sugar. So we want a fully fermented, like dry wine, essentially.
Gotcha. And how many employees? What's the team look like?
Very small. We've got one operations manager, and that is not me. And then a very small bar staff for the tasting room. So we are open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we've got some staff for that. Otherwise, my wife Annie helps with sales, and my dad down in Vegas also on the sales team. So we've got some folks there, and then we've got our distribution partners, of course, who are out.
Who's your distributor?
Copa Fina. So I know they're not one of the big names. We've worked with some of the bigger names.
New West or something like those guys.
No, New West is almost exclusively beer, but so Copa Fina, my wife worked for them. They've been a wine importer and getting into spirits now more. And she worked for them for many, many years when they're mostly based in California. They've expanded quite a bit, and so now they have their own warehouses in Nevada as well.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so small family-run operation. What's your metric of success? What's called KPIs or key performance indicators. Like, how do you know if you're crushing it or not?
It's and I mentioned this to the team as well. It's just bottles. So like
Right.
we have a tasting room. We do events, and you can come in and have cocktails. It's like everything. Everything that we do should be geared back towards selling bottles, either at retail in the tasting room or wholesale. So if that number's growing, at the right clip, then that's everything leads back to that. All of our marketing, everything we do
Right.
cocktail classes. I mean, but ultimately it's growing that core bottle sales.
Okay, so bottles sold, and like, when you like, what would give me some numbers? Like, I'm an accountant. I can't help myself, Joe. So give me some metrics. Like, how many bottles sold last year? How much you going to sell in 2026?
Let's see. Last year wrapped just shy of about 20,000 bottles. So we're super small, but that number we can definitely grow this year to about 30,000. The Amers is a key component of that for sure.
Right.
So that's, but before that it was significantly smaller, but that's now kind of our our
that's the flagship,
baseline.
right? So that's it. Because the thing is, if you're selling through, just marketing 101, you're like, okay, I have something from Ferino Distillery on the shelf, for your Picon Punches, and then you're like, that just gives you an entree to say, well, I got this other pretty good stuff over here too.
Yeah, which is like what we were all about since forever, but now we have, makes no sense not to fully embrace this new to us. It's been around forever. I mean, it's now the official state drink of Nevada as of the last legislative session in June. We have it. If you didn't catch wind of that, Picon Punch is officially enshrined now as the state drink of Nevada. The only state in the country whose state drink is an alcoholic beverage. There are other state cocktails, but most of the state drinks in the country are like milk, or like something more straightforward. But
but this one just goes straight to the alcohol.
That's right. Well, yeah.
No, I get okay. That's fun. So it's like, but with the America going from 20 to 30,000, that is actually a significant undertaking in terms of like just running a business, right? I mean, that's a lot more throughput, and that usually requires a lot more capital. So is that what you're finding, or is it they gave you the recipe and $100,000 to fund all the inventory until you can monetize it?
No, just a recipe and a pat on the back, which I'm grateful for. So, if anyone in Toronto's listening, I appreciate you to no end. So, but awesome. Yeah, no, we had to go. Yeah, I didn't have the capital sitting by to kind of get started, so I had to go find that. Just to
how'd you find it? I guess that's just like, did you have it? Independently wealthy?
No, it was a private loan.
Okay.
From someone that I know.
Friends and family? Or did you get it? The bank's not going to give it to you.
We're not super bankable. I would say it's just but I think by this time next year, we would be. But then again, by this time next year, might is that we may not need it, which is the best time to go get financing, right?
Right. The only time, right, that you'll ever get financing from a bank is when you don't need it.
That's
so when
right.
we come back, Joe Cannella from Ferino Distillery, we're going to talk about, maybe scaling that operation, really press into like how much capital does it take? Because everybody's like, a little thing, it costs how much? And it's like, but there's a lot of inputs. We're going to talk about that when we come back. It's Bosma on Business. Welcome back to Bosma on Business. Your host, Mike Bosma, Joe Cannella from Ferino Distillery in his own studio. I'm in Studio B, that's Studio Bosma Business Center, talking about making Italian spirits, drinks, cordials type stuff, all brandy base. And Joe's talking about his $20,000 bottle shop that's going to $30,000, becoming the state drink of the state of Nevada, the Picon Punch, and he's got the main ingredient and how to grow and scale that. So I'm curious because I'm a student of this, Joe. When all of a sudden you said, hey, we're going to sell all of the primary ingredient for Picon Punches, yay, but that takes some money. How much money did it take? Because and that's just for the benefit of our listeners, right? It's not just like this, instantly converts to sales, right? You have to take, in this case, wine, distill it down. So you got to buy the wine, distill it down, right? And then add whatever you're going to add. All that takes time and money to get it into a bottle. And then you have to market and sell it, and you get a little small fraction of it. So that throughput, how much it takes to on the front end to get the inventory, then to monetize it, not for the faint of heart. But then Joe jumps right in. So Joe, like just curious, like how much you know to basically increase production by 50%? How much did you need to go find, and who was the nice individual who, or not? I don't not who, but like how did you find that? Because usually, you know, you're at your friend's, you know, your kid's soccer party, and you're like, hey, you know, I've got this Italian spirits, you know, I need a hundo, do me a solid, you know, it's not really acceptable in our society. So how'd you find somebody willing to stroke a check? Or were you related to him?
I'm pretty shameless. No,
that's it. That's a great. Now we're talking.
It's a colleague, you could say, or someone in a industry adjacent, and understands the vision, has some level of involvement.
Okay, so yep. Can I ask how much it was?
That loan is $65,000.
Okay, $65,000. How much interest rate?
Very, very generous. It was about 7 or 8. Yeah. So this
my gosh, that's a smoking deal, Joe. That was you hit a home run on that one, because I was going to say that's called risk capital, right? And so don't have your investor friend listen to the show. Just it'll just be agnostic to him. But no, and that's just, it's so hard, right? You're like, well, I can invest this money. I got $65,000. I can invest in 4% in a kind of a money market account with no risk. Then I'm going to take some risk, but I like Joe. He's a good guy, and but I'll sweeten the deal for him whenever he comes in for tasting. I'll comp the tasting and charge him a mere 7%. So, because that's what it isn't. So yeah, because a lot of time, in fact, I was talking yesterday, about same deal. Hey, I'm a little thin on operating capital. Company's going great, but the problem is when you're growing, the company consumes capital. It's like a sponge.
And distillery business is very much one of those capital intensive
intensive front end. So you're like, okay, so I know I'm not going to be necessarily square on how to monetize that. It's going to take me a minute to get it paid back. But like I had a deal where the partnership, or the business, was operating a partnership. And what we did, actually, I take it back. They were an S corporation, but they needed to be in a partnership to do this deal. So we did, it's called an F reorg, spun up a new corporate S corporation. Now the existing business employer identification number is a partnership. And then we added the investor, 65,000, became a partial owner of this thing. And his agreement was he was going to get a 7% pref on profits, cumulative, until his capital is repaid. And the reason we did that, and it was a larger piece, probably not worth the legal on your side, but the reason we did that is so that the distributive share that flowed out to the investor, he got this benefit called the qualified business income deduction. So it was 20% more efficient to have a slice of the pie. But then the partners were, and the other thing that really drove that was, the partners were like, we're only going to be partners as long as you have your capital in here. We don't, and the investor, he didn't want to have to, kind of mess with his friend and acquaintance if that note went south. So,
right.
So there was a time period certain that we put in there, which is 2 years. Say you're going to have this payback in full in 2 years, or I'm going to take control of the partnership. And that way, it was like, oh, you kind of pucker a little bit on that one. But we made it so onerous, like, no, people are going to get that paid off, the projections, and that was, and I've done a number of those, and that just makes it more tax efficient and more business friendly to be like, okay, I control this thing. I don't have to worry about my good friend Joe, you're running off to Vegas or whatever. You're a good guy. You know what I mean? But people fall off the reservation, unfortunately, and then you're like, I don't want to have to chase them. Just I'll have a business.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I do run off to Vegas, but it's to go see my family usually.
Okay. Well, I grew up there too. So what part of Vegas is your family?
The zip code is 89123. It's not too far away from the airport. Warm Springs, Las Vegas Boulevard.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was northwest, always northwest. So
nice.
Did you used to live in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I grew up there till I was 18, and then off to college, and then move back.
Back in the day, this is going back all the way to the 1970s. I used to ride my motorcycle out to what now has become Summerlin, and I'd ride my dirt bike out and I'd park on the top of those red rock formations out there, and look at the city lights down there, and that taught me two very important lessons that I've carried with me in life. One is I knew when I was that far out of town, because at that time the nearest paved road was Jones.
Yeah.
I was way out there, right? So I better be careful how I ride my motorcycle here, because if I take a digger and I have to either push it out or walk out, it's going to be hard on me. So I found healthy boundaries on how aggressive I was riding my bike. And the second one I learned was that never take investment advice from me, because I'm out there on top of the Red Rock Formation, Summerlin, Las Vegas, saying, who in their right mind would pay for this land when you can just use it for free? I guess I missed that one.
Yeah, no, there were moments you could have bought a bunch of land in Vegas for sure.
A whole bunch of land in Vegas for almost free. When we come back, we're going to talk about kind of what Ferino Distillery's future is, how he sees that it's going to grow to more bottles, keep it the same. What are the risks? What are the rewards? We come back. It's Bosma on Business. Welcome back to Bosma on Business. Your host, Mike Bosma, in his studio, Joe Cannella from Ferino Distillery, talking about, on the break, mocktails, cocktails, alcohol consumption going down. If you want to know the behind-the-scenes stuff, you want to go, if you're a KOH radio show listener, you want to make sure you hook me up on your YouTube channel and like and subscribe. There's all kinds, our primary way when we do this radio show is give you, hopefully, prayerfully, an hour of really good content. It's hopefully educational and entertainment as well. But also there's all kinds of other things that we add on to as adjacents or adjuncts to that conversation. And that's all found on our YouTube channel, which is at Bosma Business, or just search Bosma on Business. Make sure you like and subscribe. All right. So as I mentioned, Joe Cannella, Ferino Distillery, and there's some trending things out there right now. Is he talking about, kind of scaling up production, increasing 50% of his bottle output, becoming the primary manufacturer of the primary ingredient of Picon Punch, the state of Nevada's drink, recognized state drink. So, but overall, when you look at the trends out there, Joe, alcohol consumption going down, this newer generation, I don't know. Are they all getting high? Is that the problem? I don't know. What's their recreational, and how's that impacting your industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a very different position than larger producers, and it's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. So, okay, alcohol consumption overall is down. That's going to impact stock prices for some of the big players a lot more than it's going to impact someone like us who is focused on a premium product, which I think is important. If you're going to be in the business right now, higher end products are still doing generally just fine. But so for us, for me, it's like it's that focus on just do what you do, make sure it's getting to the right people. We're so small in the scheme of the industry that we still have just nowhere to go but up. So for me, it's really not a concern. Like, there's just an incredible amount of opportunity still left for us. So yeah, it doesn't really keep me up at night from that standpoint. But then the other standpoint is there's opportunities. If people, the non-alcoholic market is exploding, and it's not a fad. It's going to stick around because they're starting to taste good. It's like certain things that even just like the RTDs, like ready to drink cocktails and whatnot. The very first entrants were like not that great.
Not
But then
so
they got,
good. Not
but then
so
they,
good.
but then eventually they got really good, and now they're like, they're like proper cocktails and that you can buy in a can. So, and they're doing incredibly well. So I think, the same on the non-alcoholic front. Some of them are getting really good, and we've been doing a lot of personal research.
Right,
Uh,
personal consent. Okay. Okay, this
yeah,
is a blind taste test: alcohol, non-alcohol, just
yeah.
alternating. So if we could stay lucid.
Phony Negronis and like all sorts of fun stuff out there now. So yeah, and so yeah, we are going to get into that market. For me, it's about like making that connection and bringing people together around
Right.
like those special moments. And I'm not going to not be involved in a part of the industry just because it's not alcohol. And what we do is, if we're any type of distillery, you could call us, we're a bitters distillery, right? So,
Right.
and bitters is one of the most important components to do non-alcoholic cocktails really, really well, is to find that balance between sweet and bitter and sour and all those things. So, anyway.
Yeah. No. Okay. That kind of makes sense. And that's the nice thing about being the little David against the big Goliath, right? You're like, you can pivot. Like, okay, we can do all those things. And that's where I think, like, for your future, like, what's your vision for this thing? Where do you see it going?
Yeah. I mean, if you ask my wife, I could be overly ambitious at times, or interested in continuing to go. I see a big opportunity here. The Amer itself could be a national product, even though it has such a stronghold in the American West for good reason. It's got national potential, and our other products are, they've all, won their share of the awards at the awards things, but ultimately they just need their chance, and that comes down to distribution opportunities and capacity growth and all those good things. The number one, I made this mistake, often earlier on. Distributors, one of the first questions they'll ask you after it passes the baseline test of, like, all right, is this product maybe viable in the market? Is, what's your production capacity? And my answer in the beginning was, I'll make as much as you want me to make. Like, if you just, place an order, I'll fulfill it, buddy.
I'll make it happen, Captain.
Don't you worry about that. And that's not the answer they want to hear. They want to hear that you already are making a certain amount of volume. It's ready to go. It's sitting in the warehouse. Like, here you go. So it's a real chicken and egg problem for a small producer. It's like, do I overinvest and then maybe a bunch of stuff just sits around? You have to feel really confident in something. So it's a tough, like, kind of, step scaling issue unless somebody really takes a chance on you.
Well, yeah, no, and that's where, if like Shoe Dog, Phil Knight's book, right? Building Nike, all the same problems, right? Different genre, same problems, right?
Oh yeah, it's all
inventory consumes cost, right? You guy have to distribute it. Everybody's taking their little slices of pie off there, right? So you're fighting on at the end pretty tight margins. So it's just trying to game that system. And the other thing, though, is, but I just want to make sure I get this to you, because usually the bottom of the hour we always talk a little bit of tax, but I'm like going, there's probably a number of things that you may or may not be aware of. So I'm just going to give you your tax test and see how you do. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Let's go. Okay. So, overtime. Okay. So what? So your tasting room down there in 4th Street has it's customary to tip the people that are serving you. So, what are your thoughts on this big beautiful bill excluding from people's compensation? Is it easier to hire people to do the tasting room?
I mean,
well, sounds like it's pretty thin staff. You got one person.
Yeah, I would not. It's not a big deal for us particular. So I don't know if I'm the right person to to ask. Someone with 35 people in the restaurant maybe, but no. I mean, I think it's a nice bonus for them. I've seen arguments on both sides. There's pros and cons, but no, for us it's not an impact.
Okay, so that's what I'd say is, there's people out there like, hey, if I can make a free buck or two, so that way, that the tax on tips and related tax on overtime, there's some love you get there. But I think what a lot of people in your industry miss is, like, number one, the research and development credit. Now, the research and development credit is a function of labor, so that way you have to be paying yourself and whoever's working on this thing. Because I would imagine in your world, Joe, trial and error, right? Trying to get your formulations right is a big part of developing and expanding a product. So you just want to be able to track all that. But in addition to your labor, you get supplies. So believe it or not, for all the stuff that you consume in that experimentation process, you don't get a write off the hangover pill the next day. But to get your buzz on, you do get a write off. And not write off, you get to take a credit for a portion of what you spent developing your next great drink. So that's make sure you're capturing that, because that's just a little fun one for you. And then what I think a lot of people are unaware of is this new, only President Trump. I like him or hate him, right? I think depending on the day, I do both. But so make sure that you think about starting your own Trump account. And if you had a child born, I heard like kids in the background. If you had a child born in 2025, make sure you file a return. You're going to file the form 4547, right? Why did Trump make form 4547? Because he was president 45 and 47. You can't make this stuff up. So file form 4547 to get your $1,000 of free Trump money, right? And then
the kids are definitely getting accounts because there's other companies that are lining up to put money in it too. It's like I'm not turning that down. Yeah.
No, and that's where like in our newsletter. So same thing. Go to keystones.cpa. The little prompt come up there. Do you want the newsletter? Say yes. Put in your email, because like that's what I'm pushing out every week is like these things like do not file your 2025 tax return if you had somebody born, you had a child born, you want to check this box, file your tax return, $1,000 from the government, and then all these other people have lined up behind it. I think the Dells being primary among them, saying the first 25 million people that file asking for this, we're gonna put another $500 in there. So you're like manna from heaven. Like you just have to do this stuff. And then like your employees with this Trump account, you can fund up to $2,500 tax deductible to you, the business owner, goes into the kid's Trump account, not taxable to them. It's like this Roth IRA. So you're like, you want to give some love to your employees. Like this is how Christmas bonuses are going to happen. I'm going to put money into your kid's Trump account so they can pay for their own college instead of you. It's all tax efficient. Be smart about it, people. Right? I mean, it's just, it's amazing. And by and large, nobody's talking about this stuff. So that's where like what our goal on this show, Bosma in Business, is to be the premium source of truth for all things business and tax related. Like just the real deal, no BS. We don't sell things. Like we're just going to tell you the rules, how the thing works, and how to game the system, basically play this tax and business game. And, and that's where like on your side, real quick, you got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure we talk about quintessential Nevada, the history of the state of Nevada told through cocktails. Okay, like how'd you pull it? What is it, and how'd you pull it off?
So it's a class, and for me, my goal is to make it sort of one of the premier experiences for folks coming into town to learn about Nevada, for locals. So we've done over time a series of different like cocktail classes, basically a history of the old fashioned, which is one for the whiskey lovers, and a whole bunch of others. But with the connection now with the state drink, we wanted to make something that was a quintessential Nevada. So it's called Quintessential Nevada, a history of the Silver State told through cocktails. And so, it's essentially, it's like part immersive, like hands-on cocktail making experience. So you get the chance to make 3 cocktails that tie in beautifully with different aspects of the history of the state, and while you're sort of learning some of that the storytelling. So it's part storytelling, part drinking.
And you have it down there in the distillery on 4th. So if somebody come in and say, "Hey, hook a brother up," and you'll be able to, or do you have to sign up for it ahead of time? And how does that work?
That one you sign up for online. Yeah, so you can sign up for a tasting and a cocktail and whatnot ahead of time and come in. But the class you have to kind of reserve a time.
Okay. And give me your website so our listeners can sign up for the quintessential cocktail.
Absolutely. So it's ferinodistillery.com, FERINO distillery.com.
Awesome. Now, lastly, as we wrap up the show, I see you got a Bears hat on.
Yes, sir.
My condolences.
This year, we had lower expectations than what happened this year. So, I think they're ahead of their time slightly. So no complaints. We'll see what happens next year.
I tell you, they got a lot of great athletes. Wish you the best. And I think that, those are things where you kind of think about, what people are passionate about. You have a passion for, Italian crafted cocktails, and cordials. I like helping people. It's my life's work, to help people, move the needle and really in many ways just make millionaires, right? Like, it's amazing to me, in the work that I do, that people can really make as much money as they want. If you want to take your 30,000 bottle distillery to a 60,000, to a million, right? It's a function of, do you have come up with a product to sell, and come up with a way to sell it, way to make a buck, right? And you can be as successful as you want. There's a recipe. It's just, you just have to find the right one. That's that R&D part of making all those, making that magic happen. So, Joe Cannella, Ferino Distillery. When we come back, what he's gonna do is say the hardest thing about opening up a distillery. When we come back, it's Bosma on Business. Welcome back to Bosma on Business. Your host, Mike Bosma, in his own studio. Joe Cannella from Ferino Distillery, talking about, maybe that hard thing. We always leave our listeners with the number one thing, the big aha, the big takeaway. And, starting a distillery from scratch, there's a ton of regulatory, like you won't believe. So I always like to kind of what if somebody was going to go into this genre, what do you wish you knew before you got into this thing, Joe?
Wow. Yeah. So I've unintentionally made, I feel like, every single possible mistake, that could be made, going through this process. And I know that's a common story across a lot of industries, but I feel like I've really, really tried my hardest. So, I think I didn't bring on enough capital to start. I over time have become good in the sales capacity, like as a CEO, like needs to be. But in the beginning, I was just frightened of the concept, and so I think early on, probably my biggest mistake was not finding or having some sort of partner or somebody that I bring on in a strong sales capacity, like right out of the gate. And that, I think, cost us some time. Where to begin? Under capitalizing from the beginning, and then like trying to, keeping it together. And then once you're in that kind of spot where you're like, all right, we're already launched, we got it, we're open, and then you're like really tight on cash. It's like, you better see some early success, or like the next, the tranche of capital is going to be much harder,
way expensive, right?
So I think that, I learned that the hard way.
Okay. So now I'm curious. Now, does you sell to bars and taverns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you in the new Marcolinos?
I don't think so. Not yet. Should we make that happen?
I think we should make that happen, because it's the town's newest Italian restaurant. It would be a shame if it didn't have the best cordials and special drinks.
Well, it sounds like we better go pay him a visit.
But that's where it's great. I appreciate you sharing your journey, Joe. And I think those are things where, like, I remember when I started, we started this the podcast, but I've done the radio for 14 years. So, because I have a face for radio, Joe. You're a handsome lad. Me,
it's a good face. It's a good
well,
face.
I appreciate it. But I remember starting this thing, man, how hard it was. I swear we changed this set 14 times. We're not done yet, but where it's just anytime it's new. And I think that's where I encourage people out there. If you need some help trying to riddle these things and try, not make every mistake known to man, but you need some help, we do 1 hour consults. We'll give, our gift back to the universe is given an hour of our time. We'll get your information, financials, tax returns. It's like, is there a better way? And it is amazing. What work that we can do. Very talented team. And I would say, it is rare. Let me say this. It is rare. I'm trying to think if it's happened, even definitely that happened this year. I don't know if I can think of even one situation last year, onboarded egads, hundreds and hundreds of new tax clients. I don't think I can't think of one situation where I didn't save somebody a bunch of money. Not one time. And I'm just like, and it's not because, people don't have good, they don't know the questions to ask. So
Right.
that's what it's like. If you need some help, we'll give you that. All that contact information's there. So mention if you're on the radio, make sure you go to our YouTube channel at Bosma Business, or just search Bosma on Business, like and subscribe, and then you'll be able to kind of see all the other things we do that are adjunct to this radio show that will help you move the needle forward. And now we're getting feedback now that the ancillary information is as good as better as the show, which I'm honored to be part of. So Joe, thank you so much. If there's something newsworthy, please reach back out. We'd love to have you back on and just kind of share those parts of the journey with you. Speaking of the journey, next week's installment of Bosma on Business, Allison Villini's, Alley Marine Marketing, and fellow Inc. 5000 winners going to come and share her story. So I'm excited for that. Of course, if you need any help, make sure that you reach out to us. Until next week, your host, I would encourage you, my brothers, my sisters, my comrades in arms, keep that business engine humming. It's Bosma on Business.